ago, there was quite a bit about Project Tango. So my company, Legacy Interactive, we work with a number of new technology platforms, and most recently we've been working on some projects with Google for Project Tango. And I wanted to tell you about one of them and a little bit of our experience. Has anyone here developed anything for Tango yet? It's interesting. I mean, as a small company, and I imagine some of you are small developers as well, trying to select which hardware and which software you want to support and which you think has a future. It's not always that easy. Like I say, we've worked with Intel RealSense, we've worked with HP on occasion, 3D printing companies, but we really do believe in Project Tango. So just a quick summary of what the Tango technology consists of. There are the software APIs on the Google website for developers, and that's combined with 3D cameras. So in the development device that you can buy, I think it's about $400 from Google, you have 2 3D cameras. In addition, you have the third camera that every mobile phone has. You have and gyroscope sensors. Essentially, what the development tool that you can develop on now allows you to do is it knows where you are in your space, and it does it pretty accurately. It can hold it up to the wall, it'll take the measurements of the wall, and it does wayfinding pretty well. There's certain things it doesn't do very well, which I'll talk about in a little bit too. Right now, the only thing that's available out there is the development kit, an actual device that has Tango and the 3D cameras incorporated. Will not be out until this fall. Lenovo will have the first device out there, probably available in September. But both Intel and I think Qualcomm have announced that they're going to be supporting Tango. One of the reasons back to why we're supporting Tango is because, and I'm not saying this because I have any special knowledge from Google, but it's clearly part of their strategic advantage. Obviously, they dominate in mapping. This is interior mapping, and it's good interior mapping. So just imagine a year from now, you'll have one of these devices. You'll use your Google Maps to get to the U.S. Capitol building, and seamlessly, as you walk into the Capitol building, you'll look down and say, I want to know where the cafeteria is. You'll be looking through your device, and the footsteps will take you to the cafeteria, and it will all be part of Google Maps. That's what I think Google's trying to do with Project Tango. So that's one of the reasons why we want to support it. We think they will incorporate it into future versions of Android, and it will get out there and be supported by a number of hardware companies. That's our belief. So what are we doing with it? We're doing a coloring book. Why not? A 3D coloring book. It's a zombie coloring book for ages 6 and up. And essentially, imagine I'm holding up my device like this, and pretty clear around me, they're spawning zombies. They come up from the floor. You walk around them, you color them, the zombies turn happy. The really fun thing that I've actually not seen before in this kind of an AR experience is that now the zombies, because they know where you are, they follow you. So pretty soon in our app, you have this conga line of happy zombies following you around your room as you're walking around. So there's some gameplay as well, but that's essentially the experience that we're going to be offering this fall. So we've also done a little bit of designing for classrooms. I'll give you another example of something that we're working on, which is a virtual scavenger hunt. So imagine you have one team of kids, and they're placing virtual items in the room, and then they create mathematical problems that you have to solve in order to figure out where the actual virtual item, it can be hanging from a wall or a ceiling, where those virtual items are. So then they give those math problems to the other team, who then solve them to locate, these are all pieces of an Egyptian pyramid. once they've located all the pieces of the pyramid, then and then it all goes together, and they recreate the pyramid. We think that in the classroom, especially related to math issues, that Tango will be a lot of fun. Again, it's very, actually pretty accurate with its measurements. So what are some design considerations when creating something for Project Tango? Again, what it does best is wayfinding, interior mapping, and augmented reality in the situation, in the physical environment. I think it does those things pretty well. What it doesn't do very well is occlusion and collision. It's probably related to the CPU, the performance. Right now on the development device that we're working on, terrible battery life, and it really is working hard, you know, to try to do, I mean, we have at one point, we had 15 different zombies in your environment right around you, you know, so it's working really hard, and it's has a hard time keeping up. You can imagine this is an indoor device. It doesn't really do well outside with infrared ambient lighting. And it doesn't do very well with saving your information. So you know, it's obviously very cool because this is all, it's spawning zombies on the fly, right? And you can do it in your kitchen, and then you go to your bedroom, and it's doing it again in your living room. But the idea of once you shut it down and you turn it back up again, it's not going to remember that that zombie was right there. So it's not saving. There are ways to make it save, but it's not something that works very well right now. Persistence and drift of virtual items, it's pretty good, but if I saved something, if I was playing a session and I had something right here, let's say I had a zombie right there on the floor, it might move a few inches, but pretty much it stays where you originally saw it while you're playing that session, but there is a little drift. Interface is a really interesting issue. And the difference between adults and kids is sort of surprising. First of all, when you put one of these devices in an adult's hand, they have a hard time understanding that they need to move around with it. You give it to a kid and they're racing around. They have no issue with it at all. For an adult, they'll hold it, they'll look at the zombie and they'll say, and then you see them with, you know, trying to touch the tablet, and how do I enlarge the picture? And you say, well, you move closer to the zombie and it'll look bigger. How do I see on the other side of the zombie? Well, you walk around the zombie. You know, I mean, it's really, we're so touch-oriented at this point. So that's kind of interesting when you first give it to someone until they get used to it. Dynamic gameplay, I mean, I think this is really a fun part of it, where you're interacting with your physical environment, and these things are spawning, these characters, and these things are happening on the fly. So obviously the Tango knows where the furniture is, and it does a decent job of knowing where all the obstacles are. And so each room that you do this in, you have a somewhat different experience, which is fun. There are some initial scanning requirements, as you might imagine. So then we have to design around that. There has to be some sort of onboarding process where the device can learn where everything is in the room, the dimensions of the room, and the objects in the room. So for example, in our game, we have kids following, I was going to say a butterfly, but I think it's a crow. You know, and so they're playing a little bit of a game in the beginning, and they're running around with their device, and meanwhile the device is scanning the room so it has a good idea of the space. And you need to do that initially. So you have to sort of design around the device's need for some pre-knowledge of the space. Obviously, if you were going to use Tango, for example, in a shopping center, well, you would have pre-scanned the shopping center. And this is, I mean, there's just some really neat ideas of how this thing could be used other than the way that we're using it. You want to avoid nondescript walls, shiny objects, and as I said, ambient infrared light, you want to avoid that as well. Meanwhile, we're having a great time with it. Our app will be out, this particular zombie app will be out this fall. All of these apps are being sold through the Google Play Store, and Google's really getting behind it, and they've promised a lot of promotion. So we're pretty bullish on the technology. It improves daily. And there's a core group of developers who are, spending their time and efforts trying to exploit this technology in all sorts of different ways. I mean, obviously, it's one of the applications that comes with the developer toolkit is where you're able to visualize your furniture in your actual physical space, that kind of thing. So there's some of those more obvious applications, and then some rather fun ones as well. So that was my presentation on Project Tango and our kids projects.